you won't pass any credit check, and it will be denied. How did you get out of the situation?
I had to resell myself to get long-term bank debt. I had the blemish, but I had a solid work history, and I worked multiple jobs. I had stable backup employment, and I had built up reserves. I had some explaining to do. I was in the game 4 or 5 years. I had experience, had a pretty sizable portfolio that was cash flowing, even with the hard money. Some banks took a chance on me and kind of got me out.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Path of Progress. I'm your host Alex Kononov, and today's guest is someone who brings both impact and insight to the world of real estate investing. Join me is Melvin Landry, co-founder of Moreland Equity Capital, a firm focused on multifamily syndication and affordable housing. Since 2005, Melvin's been investing in Pennsylvania real estate, building a diverse portfolio of 70-plus doors in the Pittsburgh area, alongside national syndication across multifamily, self-storage, and mobile home parks. Melvin, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks for coming, Melvin. Melvin, let's take us back, please, to your very beginning. How did your real estate journey get started back in 2005?
Man, so I was living in Omaha, Nebraska, in the middle of the heartland, and I would go visit my buddies who I went to college with in Pennsylvania, and one of them had a few rental properties, and I decided, hey, maybe I should give this a try too, try to bring some incremental income and to, if anything, learn and kind of get diversified. So from there, I went and got 1 or 2 rentals and, just kind of built it, found the right crew. So I kind of aimed to build a power team. So I had a realtor, title company, a contractor who I've been working with. And, the contractors I ended up turning more than once. But I found a good crew in place and just started kind of buying onesie twosies. Primarily foreclosures. And, if you know anything about, the Western PA market, stuff's old here. So a lot of stuff I buy, it's solid 1920s, 1930s, solid brick. Mechanicals are pretty decent for the most part, but it needs, a lot of cosmetics and things of that nature over time. So just grew it, man. Just grew it. And then 2008, 2009 hit. I started getting some momentum. Was primarily single family, a duplex here and there, but just grew it. And then, kind of got excited and jumped along into more than one state. So I bought a single family house in Indianapolis. And, I made a big jump and bought in Red Hot, Arizona, bought a condo for over $250,000, and just kind of got more and more exposure. So, yeah.
So you're right along the hottest market out there. And did you have W-2 job at the time?
I did. I was still working my W-2. I'm a procurement professional in supply chain and was teaching a few classes on the side. Also, econ classes. That's my passion. That's my subject. So was doing a lot, as a single guy and was taking on everything I could at that time, So, you fast forward 2011, 2012, I got over 50 rentals. And I'm going visit my properties, visit my tenants, and was stretched in, but I mean, I was just drinking from a fire hose, man, and just getting it done. And
so how was 2008, 2009 for you? I mean, it was a very interesting stage of our history of economy, and you just glide through it from single. You just grew to 2011 through all the time. Did you have?
I grew, but I got bit as well. So. I jumped into Arizona and bought this condo, and I ended up short selling it. So hey, every failure is a learning experience. So I ended up kind of losing that property. I also the one in Indiana, I lost that one too. I short sold that one as well. End up being upside down. So not buying right and not really understanding the dynamics of the market came back to haunt me. And at the end of the day, right, it was a failure considered at that time, but ended up being a growth and learning experience for me along the way. So ironically, my PA properties were strong. I bought them at the right price. I got private debt on them. And in between that time, I got a mentor, right? Got a mentor and kind of talked to me about the tips and tools and trades of kind of how I can really grow the trajectory. So grew it. Stumbled a little bit and then ended up with nearly 60 properties, 2011, 2012.
Wow. Okay. So you have to a little bit unwind a little bit. For our listeners, Tell us more about short sale and your experience with the bank at the time. I bet it was a very stressful time for you,
Yeah.
for everyone else at this period. How did you manage it?
Yeah. So I'll share some numbers just to kind of give context to the listener. So I bought a 1960s build condo with an HOA in the heart of Scottsdale. I bought it for what, 265. Okay, in the heart of it all, I was getting 1250 a month on an interest only loan, banking on 12-month appreciation because the market was so hot. Well, guess what? I got burned. Okay, so at the end of right around month 9 or 10, I had tenants who moved out. They were elderly. They couldn't afford the rent, and they ended up moving out. And I kind of carried the note for about as long as I could, and kind of got upside down in it. Right, it was like an interest only balloon. Rate shot up, monthly payment tripled, and I'm like, oh crap! So, got my first taste of not buying right, and getting the wrong type of debt on the property. And it took about another year, but that condo that I short sold, and my lien holder was Bank of America at the time, I ended up selling it for 72, 5 to 72. You do the math. And, it stained the credit for a year. And at the same time, that Indianapolis property, I took a cut there too. So I kind of got punched in the gut twice within 90 days. So luckily, I had my PA portfolio when I was growing that. So I'm like, you know what? Learning experience. Let me just stick to the area where I'm doing well. And it was a growth trajectory from there for me from that standpoint. So yeah.
So you experienced short seller firsthand with dealing with the bank and
Yeah.
with brokers on this front. How long did it stay on your credit history? You just mentioned 1 year only,
No, it's about 4 years.
4 years.
4 years. It stayed on 4 years. After that sting, I was committed to kind of keeping my credit clean, keeping my debt situation as optimal as possible, timely payments and things of that nature. I didn't know what I didn't know, but it came out stronger as a result of it. And look, the
So
difference. And before I cut you off, the difference for me in that, I bought one property 265,000. Come back at a PA, right? For what I can get, 265,000, the equivalent of 7, 8 houses, right? So you could imagine just different dynamics in different markets at the time. So I was buying REOs primarily when I was within PA. So yeah.
so what did you pull you in Scottsdale? I mean, it's a very different market. How did you land there?
Buddy of mine who I worked with, who I still communicate with today, we went in together in terms of he bought one, I bought one. Similar results.
Peer
I
pressure.
ended up short selling. I think he ended up foreclosing on his. Yeah, we were kind of hanging together, and we decided to jump into Arizona. We got up with the top realtor there, and we both bought different condos for similar prices, similar type debt, etc. And I believe he was
Similar speculation
yeah,
and
yeah,
similar outcome in the
similar
end.
outcomes.
Listen,
Yep.
but you still got knowledge and experience from this, so there is no a bad deal in the end of the day. You just get a knowledge and experience, and if you move forward, keep moving forward, keep your head up, then it just experience is gonna make you stronger, which it did in this case, right?
Yeah.
And but now you're telling me is that it stays 4 years on your record. You have two short sales, which is for banks is already kind of red sign, which is already in your history. How did you grow in 2 3 years to 60 units with those short sales on your background?
I took almost like a pivot. So instead of kind of going to banks to try to get lending, I went private, hard money. So I got exposure to hard money, and I got a mentor. Mentor kind of showed me how I can pivot and how I can grow fast, and ended up doing that. And actually came, took my hand, and we went driving the streets in PA at where my properties were and looking at other opportunities I could have seized upon, and kind of grew from there. Went to the sheriff's sale locally, and look for other opportunities of how I kind of build this thing fast to kind of take that setback and make it for a strong comeback, which I did. And I took action. That's another thing I did too. You know, kind of nipped that in the bud, those short sales, and kind of went out fierce with, look, I can come out on top. I can buy properties, concentrate on one market versus being stretched in. Okay. And ended up growing, and the trajectory was pretty solid from that standpoint.
I like it. Most people would bury their head in the sand and just listen. I'm scared now. This is I
Yeah.
got burned. I have something that works for me. That's it for me in real estate. But
Yeah.
you're like, nope. It's just a small hiccup. Let's grow tenfold now.
It
I
happens.
like it. So you just mentioned you went to private money and hard money, but hard money has really high interest rates. This is notorious. Like shark lending and hard money, you have much higher interest rate here. So how did it? So when you get those properties, when you purchase them, with your short sale background, you don't have an option to refinance out of them, right? Because you already have this kind of background. You won't pass any credit check and it will be denied. So what did you do with those properties? You just kept them on hard money, you just keep rotating, you borrowed private money. How did you get out of the situation?
I had to resell myself, per se, to get long-term bank debt, which I was able to do so. As you can imagine, right? I had the blemish, but I had a solid work history, and I worked multiple jobs, right? My wife tends to call me a Jamaican. I worked multiple jobs, and I'm a hustler. So I had stable employment, I had stable backup employment, and I had built up reserves after I faltered via the short sales. And you know what? A couple of local banks, actually, in Western PA, took a chance on me and gave me long-term
Wow.
debt, which was good, right? So I had some explaining to do, but look, at that point, I mean, shoot, I was in the game 4 or 5 years. I had experience, but I had a pretty sizable portfolio that was cash flowing, even with the hard money. So, which says I bought it right, which is a good thing. And some banks took a chance on me and kind of got me out of the hole that I was in.
Yeah, I mean, this is incredible because usually, there's stigma. If you already burned your credit, you can't do anything. You just wait it out or, do something else like seller financing, look for creative financing. But you just went, no, I can do it. I'm stable, and you proved yourself to the bank, and
Indeed.
there's still an option. We're all humans, right? And it's proven that everything is possible in your case here. So what type of assets did you keep acquiring in Pennsylvania? Was it single families, small multis, or you went to large?
Small single families, 1,200 square feet, targeting 2 to 3 bedrooms. My market is a beautiful affordable housing play. I've been dealing with the housing authorities now for almost 15 years. So, again, right, affordable housing is a strong play here in this market and really, really allowed me to really cash flow at the respective levels that I needed to be to kind of maintain that stability, which was what banks were looking for. That's why they took a chance on me from that standpoint. So it's something that was tried and true back in 2010, 2011. Still the same for us today as we're growing our portfolio even today, partnering with the housing authorities and different programs. And there's a huge need in my market for affordable housing. So that's our mission and our passion of what we're trying to gain and just trying to give folks viable housing, stable, solid housing for the long term.
Okay, when you mention affordable housing, you talking about Section 8 voucher programs and other programs as well? Okay.
Indeed, yep,
And
primarily Section 8, but there's other supplement programs that are funded from
like
different
state programs.
state programs. Yep, medical programs with our local medical center here. There's opportunities and folks who are in collaboration with different type of support programs as well as need housings as well.
So how did you learn about Section 8 program and all the other housing programs? Is it from your experience? You just play with it and you rent apartments and you just scale this as something that works for you? Or did the mentor actually guide you through this process?
No, well, this was a notion of intense marketing. I mean, putting out listings for rent. I love Craigslist. I love other third-party sites. And with those third-party sites, people reach out, introduce themselves, and you get exposure to these different type programs that I didn't even know that exist. So always consistently marketing indirectly, right, or directly as well in terms of kind of getting that exposure. So a lot of different caseworkers and counselors that got me educated to different type programs. So there's some things I didn't even know that exists. I didn't know that the local medical center had a program that housed folks with disabilities and things of that nature. So there's a huge, huge, huge need for housing. And look, if you look hard enough and if you market long enough, those opportunities will come for you to try to find a match. So we work with an array of different for-profit, nonprofit programs also as well.
I like it. And do you self-manage all your properties? So you have a property manager?
Today we self-manage, but we're growing to the point where as we're bringing on additional resources to support our overall mission and maintenance, things of that nature. Because remember, hey, I still have the 9 to 5. So yeah, so we have we have support legs, and we're at the point now where we're going to be instituting, looking at the property management option to kind of support the overall portfolio. But look, at the end of the day, you talk about education, masterminds. We're part of a fantastic mastermind for asset management. So, that is the solid foundation to overall success in this industry, is what I'm learning even over the years. You got to run your asset, and you got to run it the right way. And each asset is ran with a different capacity, with a different tune. So having that exposure, that education, and that continuous improvement, I think, is key, and which has kind of helped us be as successful as we've been today. Yeah.
I love it. I think education is a cornerstone of any journey in real estate specifically, because you can make a lot of mistakes, and every mistake can be as costly as losing your pants on your first deal. But luckily there's so much information online. And funny you mentioned Craigslist. I haven't heard that in a while, and I personally advertised there for my first rentals. But is it still a sin? You still advertise on Craigslist?
Religiously, continuously market on Craigslist.
Wow.
And it's not the number one market thing in terms of the trend, because the local housing authorities have websites as well. But look, I'll get 10 to 12% of my folks via Craigslist. It works.
Wow. Okay, I'm impressed. And I mean, it's substantial. 10 to 12% is a lot of leads.
Yeah,
and so tell us more about Section 8 and housing programs. You just mentioned there is one website in Pennsylvania, like Housing Authority. Is there a centralized place where you can advertise your house for that? How does it work? Can you explain to our listeners?
Yeah, so our local county housing authority has a place where you can go to put out your listings, provide pictures, and provide detailed insights about your respective listings. I know a lot of folks, I'm in different rooms via social media. AffordableHousing.com is another area. Fantastic site. Premium member, getting the exposure out has brought us a pretty nice roll of individuals as well to help us fill out units. And that's nationwide. So everyone who has a rental, or maybe needs a rental or needs to get it filled, AffordableHousing.com is another site. I mean, a subscription under $1,000 a year, ROI for that, getting tenants filled, it's a no-brainer. So, yeah.
So, and if you already mentioned, like, you get 10 to 15% from Craigslist, what about the other sources? Where do you get your most leads? From Housing Authority website? Is it coming directly from there, or affordable housing? What's the ratio, roughly, ballpark?
I would say affordable housing, most recently within our portfolio, is probably close to 25%. Wow. Which is pretty sizable. The website via the Housing Authority is probably another 25%. So you're looking at, it's tailored, right? The Housing Authority is tailored to folks who have vouchers, and then, we try to mix it up and diversify, because you can never have all your eggs in one basket. So we always look to try to keep a 10 to 15% of taking in incoming, folks who are non-voucher, right? And they pass the robust criteria, background, credit, so on and so forth. So we try to give an even keel balance, from that respective ordeal.
Very good. Tell us, so you already mentioned most of your Section 8 of voucher housing programs. Are they 100% paid by those programs, or there's 70, 80%? What kind of ratio you have?
Every individual, every household is different. So there's a percentage of their income that they must contribute to the overall rent. So, we have a few that's all the rent is covered by HUD Section 8, and we have some whereas they got to pay majority of it. So every household situation is different. It varies. There's a misnomer in terms of folks thinking Section 8, you get everything paid 100% by the government. That's not necessarily true. And as household incomes change, the amount that one may pay will change as well. And that can be at the beginning of the lease. It could be in the middle. It could be right according to the end. It's up for the individual to let the housing authority know of his or her situation. And again, it just varies.
Very good. And how long does it usually stay in those places, especially housing in Section 8 and voucher programs?
Yeah, so typically once a unit passes, there's a 12-month contractual agreement. And then at the end of the 12 months, right, each state landlord-tenant law is different. So I would advise every listener here listening, Pennsylvania state law is different than Michigan and Iowa, so on and so forth. Understanding your landlord-tenant laws to a T, I think, will help you be successful in this business. So it's critical, right, to kind of know, if you got a tenant, right, your screen, everything's come out okay, not such a good tenant. That happens. It happens in this business. You got to know when you got to give notice at the end of that 12 months, right? To be able to kind of either not renew or follow up with another course of action, etc. And if there's a non-payment, that's a whole nother can of worms by municipality and by state. So yeah.
No, but I mean, well, in general, like we're not talking about your lease duration, right, and how much you can do. But in general, people can renew leases and stay longer. On your experience with your properties, how long usually people stay? 2 years, 3 years, or they stay longer, or they just 1 year and the renewals?
We got pretty high renewal rates, so 3 to 4 years for the most part. We got some
Three
who are
to four
still,
years.
yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
yeah. Yeah, so
Uh,
it's about finding the right, matching the individual to the right place, if you will. So what we found is in the voucher space, if I got a 2-bedroom voucher and you're offering a 3-bedroom house, 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna be really excited and interested to get that additional space. We tend to kind of play that balance match, if you will, where appropriate. Because if they're excited, if they get something bigger, there's an appreciation feel there, and they tend not to want to leave if they got that enhanced space. So we found that tactic to be quite successful. And I mean, look, given the voucher standards and the payment standards, right, we tend to, it falls within line from a cash flowing perspective for the rental in most cases.
and your guidance for the rental, are you at the fair market rent price guidance, or you usually tend to rent lower than that by HUD? You know, the HUD fair market rent guidance for the year. Are you at that benchmark, or you tend to rent a little lower than that?
We tend to get it right to the T, but look, I'll say this, every metro area is different. Ironically, the HUD market rents for our area tends to be slightly higher than the actual going market rents. That's not the same if you're in Tampa. That's not the same if you're in Dallas or Phoenix. I guarantee you they're probably going to be lower because those, the demand there is just outrageous. So, our market is one of the few, whereas in some cases the HUD rents are slightly higher than market rents. So ironically, yeah.
Okay. Now another question on the diligence side for those people that you own the vouchers permanent programs. Um, what do you check on the voucher information? Like what the duration of the voucher, and when it expires on the renewal, do you ask additional documents if you want to renew? What is your process about it?
So typically it goes dual, right? So the housing authority has their contract, which typically for 12 months. We have our own supported lease also as well with our own terms and conditions. There's an addendum that goes within that. So typical lease is 30 pages, give or take, right? So even though the contract ends, we would extend our lease under our T's and C's, supporting T's and C's, as the tenant stays greater than a year.
So, but is there, if, for example, if the agency gave voucher for a year, usually they ask for supportive documents to renew the voucher. In New Jersey, that's what I know we dealt with. In Pennsylvania, how do you guys do that? Do you check with the agency, or do you ask them for a renewed voucher for the next year?
Oh, so the agency would go to the individual and ask the individual to kind of update your financial history, right? And if their intent is to stay in that ordeal, right? Maybe Susie has a job now. Susie was paying $200. She's making a little bit more money. Well, Susie now has to pay $400 of the $1,000 if that's the rent, right? And if she chooses to stay, we could extend that lease for however long that's agreed to, typically another 12 months, etc., if you will.
And when this process starts, usually on a month 11 or 10, 2 months before renewal, 1 month before.
Typically 60 to 90 days before the expiration of the lease. They're
Okay.
providing their
Very
updated
good.
financials and things of that nature. So I'll know at about month 10, month 11, what the new rent's going to be, right? Given the most recent financial strain from HUD, there's cap on increases, right? For our local municipality, it's $50 increase. You can't go up anymore, right? So taking that into account, and from a monitoring of expenses ordeal, right? A lot of things to monitor as you're kind of managing rentals, if you will, particularly on the financial side.
And I think it's important for our listeners, guys. It's important to make a rent increase on an annual basis. For reason being, because your expenses grow as well.
Yeah.
Your insurance will grow, your taxes will grow, your other water grow, your electricity will grow, and you need to kind of mitigate those expenses, and you need to make sure you can keep up with this. That's why it's not to be greedy. It's not to be like take advantage of tenant. No, it's for you to keep up with your bills, and you make sure, because if you don't do it, in 3 years you wake up, you are underwater in your rental bills, so in your bills, and then you have to move out this tenant, you have to renovate, and you have to match many problems what to do with that unit.
Indeed. Yeah.
And Melvin, I want to ask you one very critical question.
Sure.
And I'm sure everyone listening about it think about, okay, Section 8. There's a lot of stereotype on Section 8 quality of tenants. I don't want to say quality of tenants, but when they move out, there's stereotypes that they live for less, the place trashed, and you have to invest a lot of money in renovating. From your experience dealing with voucher programs and assistance, how was the move out turnover process for you, and what are the takeaways from dealing with this kind of programs?
It's a stereotype. You see the stuff that's being floated out on social media. I treat every tenant the same. I've had some not so good HUD tenants. I've had some not so good regular tenants. Just the nature of the beast. So I think killing the stereotype kind of starts there. I treat everyone the same, and I give everyone kind of like a clean slate until you give them a reason not to. And that happens also as well when you're dealing in the real estate world. Just noise, in my opinion. I don't look at Section 8 differently versus any other tenant that we bring to the fold. And I got great tenants who are on programs who are probably going to be there for a long time. We got older tenants, we got elder folks, we got some folks who got disabilities. I mean, so it's a good variance across the way. And got regular tenants who are kind of doing just as well. So it's a stereotype. I tend to ignore the noise, right? So if you follow media, right? You follow social, stereotype will lead you to stupidity. And that's the quote of the day. Stereotype will lead you to stupidity.
Usually people either love Section 8 or they hate it, and there's usually very in the middle. But I agree with you. For my rentals, we do accept any kind of program, any kind of vouchers, and I think everyone needs a second chance if they in the pickle in a situation. And we had a horrible regular tenant that had great history, credit history, and they had a job, but something happened then, and they don't care about the credit history anymore. And we have to go through 2 months eviction process, and they stopped responding on their phone calls. Before that, it was super nice. And now they live in the place is trashed, and you have to renovate it. And it happens with any kind of tenant, guys. So regardless of your situation, you can't avoid everything. And you have to be prepared to go through this process, to turn over and to understand the spaces. But on a plus side, with voucher programs, you have government who's guarantees you the rent, at least portion of this rent. And now it's less burden for the tenant to come up with the rest. But on an upside, right, if they are, for some reason, the bad tenants, and Melvin, correct me if I'm wrong, if they trouble tenants, but they're on Section 8, they in fear to lose a Section 8 voucher. Because you can, as landlord, you can complain to housing authority and say, listen, this is a bad tenant, they're troublemakers, and we report them to you guys, and now they're in fear of losing the Section 8 voucher. So most of them, they actually really good tenants.
Yeah. So I mean, look, that's where understanding your landlord tenant laws in your state is key, and that's where having alignment with the housing authority goes a long way. It's key. I mean, so I know particularly in my state, if someone owes me after they move out, I can go pursue a judgment and take that, the legal cost, the judgment amount, and I can get a judgment, and then I can provide that to Section 8. But like, this was owed, this wasn't paid, this is the contract, it's pretty clear. And then they can get on their record, and then they got 12 months to pay. That's when the clock starts to tick. If they don't pay within the 12 months, then they risk losing their voucher in a new place that they're at. So that's always a possibility as well.
No, agree. Melvin, let's focus again on the market and acquisition side. Sure. I'm very curious. So are you still acquiring actively in Pittsburgh market, or what do you do right now with your business?
Bullish in our local area market where we're boots on the ground. My spouse is the real estate professional in the family. We have been using these last 24 months to acquire strategically and cluster in our portfolio accordingly while minimizing our tax burden to perfection right now. Looking for ways to continuously grow and just keep building it, man. It's the need is there, the demand in our market is there for affordable housing, and we are doing everything we can to increase our door counts, increase our footprint, and meet our mission, right, which is kind of provide folks long-term sustainable housing. So yeah.
Quality housing, right? You help and keep communities clean and being well occupied, and also in shape that it preserves community
Indeed.
in a right form. So you already mentioned us your worst deals with your short sale.
Yeah.
Can you share your experience from your best deals that you had today?
Yeah. So, I'll say we bought a distressed 6 unit in the opportunity zone and got it for really cheap price per door. It was like $35,000 per door, and we put pretty substantial amount. Oh no, it was 7 units. It's almost like a buy one, get one free. So we bought a 6 unit and we got a single family house on the side of it. And
Wow.
we got it for under 300K. So yeah, so we put approximately about 150K into it, and we increased the value, from 30,000 per door to almost $75,000 per door, and we doubled the rents, and we instituted policies and added additional kind of support metrics to increase net operating income. And by instituting the Bird method, was able to kind of get tax-free dollars up out of the building to the tune of 150K. And right now it's just a huge cash cow for us. 100% occupied, real safe building. Tenants appreciate there's washer and dryers for coin operated laundry in the basement. Give it the real look and clean feel. Right, monthly we have common area maintenance to keep our property looking nice and pristine. And as a result of that, my phone can't stop ringing. Hey, you have other units nearby. I'm looking for housing. Can you help? So that has been a really go-to for us in terms of increasing our demand, our footprint, and it's just doing the right thing at the end of the day. Yeah.
But you moved from single family to multifamily and to commercial because it's appraised in a different way. So how was this move for you? Was it natural that you just saw opportunity numbers make sense, or did you hesitate?
No, so look, I continued my growth education trajectory. So I went to a seminar in Dallas, Texas, and got exposure to multifamily. That's where my jump into the syndication world space came about. Started passively investing in large deals, understanding those benefits, and and kind of cross over to kind of where I'm at to my local market, realizing that I can buy bigger, right, versus a single family house. And look, our sweet spot, we love small tier multifamily. That trajectory has been going well, and it's allowed us to grow our footprint and our door count. And pretty soon, man, before the year out, we'll be at 100 doors exclusively on ownership, and that'd be a pretty proud achievement, and just continue growing from there. So yeah.
I like it. Organic growth and you keep the ownership to your family. But so what is your buy box right now?
Buy boxes. I mean, look, if the deal makes sense, we'll pick up a single, right? Singles, doubles, and triples, right? We'll take all the base hits we can as long as the math makes sense. It's just math. The math must make sense for us. But ideally, we're targeting 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 units in opportunity zones where we can do heavy value add to kind of help drive the affordable housing trajectory. So, yeah.
You keep mentioning opportunity zones. How do you use opportunity zone? Because opportunity zone is very tricky place, and every county is different, guys, and every city and state is different. Meaning, for example, in Florida, in opportunity zone means that you have to have special account dedicated to invest in opportunity zones, and then you have special tax credits because of that, and blah blah blah. What it is in Pittsburgh?
Well, but I had always had been buying in opportunity zones anyway before the notion came about of qualified opportunity zones. So I was in those areas before it really became a big thing anyway. So, I mean, looking to take advantage of the tax benefits, looking to kind of provide affordable housing. And look, our mission is pretty simple, right? We love C-class areas while providing tenants in Class A experience. And that for the long haul, we keep them long. And, marketing is but word of mouth, travels. Again, like I said, I get calls and texts daily with folks looking for housing. How'd you get, first thing I'm trying to figure out, hey, how'd you hear about it? Well, such and such told me. There's an existing tenant who's talking about their good experiences, kind of putting it out to others. So it's a good thing, man. I mean, you do right, it comes back to you 5, 10-fold, even 2x. Doesn't matter, right? You're helping individuals and you're doing the right thing. So yeah.
Marlon, seems like you're doing a lot, and growing portfolio to 70 doors is not a joke. And now you're still responding to phone calls?
I mean, look, I love to put a name to a face. I love that experience. One thing I like to do, we're still at the point now where, even though we jumped from 9 doors to 70 doors in 12 months, at the end of the day, I want to put a name to a face and know who I'm dealing with, who's in my place. Eventually, there's going to come a time where that's going to be unmanageable. That's why we're kind of growing right now. We're bringing on additional staff. But look, if I want to put a name to a face, I want to know who's standing in my place. I want to look that person in the eye to see, Or are you going to be a viable person at the end of the day, living, because we want to provide housing for the long term, but we want a viable tenant as well. So right now, kind of where we're at in the landscape, I like putting name to face on every tenant that walks through the door. Yep.
Makes sense. And do you, so you already said it, but are you that you keep everything in the family, so you self-manage, self-operate, and self-fund all of your properties? Do you plan to bring partners into the game and look into the larger deals?
Yes, absolutely. We do. I mean, we have a few equity partners now that kind of like loan sharks, if you will, on some of our mid-tier deals. But yeah, the goal is to eventually, right? We're doing really small multifamily now, but we're going to be going to mid-tier here pretty soon once things get really fully stabilized from our trajectory standpoint. So yeah, that will be an option in future state, I believe.
Very good. So you also mentioned that you double in syndications a little bit. Were you on a passive side as a limited partner, or you tried something more active on this front?
Actually, both. So 2022, I just kind of like I jumped off of a diving board. Right now, we're in 16 syndications. We're in a lot. Started off heavily passive because I had capital to deploy, and primarily multifamily, a couple of self-storage and mobile home parks also as well. So, but heavily in the multifamily front. Out of my 16 syndications, I'll say 10 are doing pretty decent. Out of that 10, I have 5 shining stars. I have another 5 that are just doing well, pay every now and then from a cash flow standpoint, but I did it for depreciation. And I got 6 syndications that are in trouble. 3 of them are probably not going to get my money back. So,
ouch.
Yeah, look, it's a learning experience. I took a chance on sponsors, and look, I understand there was a risk component to it. Look, I took a risk when I first got into real estate. I jumped all in, right? Started growing across 3 states, and I got bit. So yeah, we got about 3 or 4 syndications. And what did that mean, right? It's a learning experience, right? In terms of the overall sponsor, I'll never invest with them again. I don't care what they bring to me, and we just kind of keep it moving. So luckily, I'm in a position to
continue your journey, even though to get a hit on this, but it will be right off in the end of the day. But tell us, do you mind diving deeper into those experiences? What exactly, either specific states what lessons you got from this bad experience on syndications that not going well right now? Do you have enough communication with sponsor? Do you have some buy box adjustment for future deals like this? And share with us your recent experience.
So we got, of the syndications that aren't doing well, there's 1 or 2 of them where sponsors is going ghost, and we got to reach out to ask them, hey, what's going on, right? One situation me and my wife, we're co-sponsors on, right? And it's been a challenge, right, to get the necessary communication to get things in order. So we understand the reasoning why, but at the end of the day, that does not discount you, regardless if the deal's going good, you communicate. The deal's not going good, you communicate. And we have another deal where we're probably going to lose our money, but the sponsor has been over communicating from the very beginning. So we understand the situation. The debt position wasn't the best to begin with, because there was additional entries along the debt stack, if you will. So we understand that we knew what it was going into. So, but again, the communication was there. I kind of knew it was shaky after like 18 months being into the syndication. Here we are now. There's a risk going into year 2.5 at that point in the journey, where we may lose the property. That's sponsor evaluation, I think, has been the biggest aha moment, at least for us. And, trying to understand the track record of the sponsors. And look, when rates are low and when everything looks good from an opportunity deal standpoint, things tend to be overlooked from that respective ordeal. I mean, look, it comes with the overall due diligence of the sponsor, due diligence of the deal. I feel now more than ever assured, given them in the rooms, asset management, masterminds, and things of that nature, who the performers versus who are the pretenders, right? I mean, look, at the end of the day, we took a risk, and it was part of the growth trajectory. I'm kind of glad I did. Man. Went through what I went through and went through the decisions that we did. So now we're a lot more educated. We're smarter in our decision making, and we're not making those same mistakes now within our own portfolio. We're trying to lockstep and ensure that we're doing the things that we need to do to be be successful. And at the end of the day, right, operations are key, critical component overall success in the real estate front. So you got to be on it and overly on it to try to drive success in some regards.
So for active operators out there listening to us, one major component of success story, and if it's not even success, but a comfortable experience with your limited partners, guys, communications and transparency. That's the only thing that's needed, honestly, in a healthy environment of talking. And since happen, we all understand everything. All the investments carry risks, right? There is no such thing as guaranteed investment, especially in this space.
Indeed.
But communication and transparency and showing numbers and being out there and doing everything possible to do to save the deal and make sure everything's going in the right direction, that's a key component to a healthy relationship between partners, general partners and limited partners. But you mentioned, I wish I had more due diligence on the sponsor. A lot of sponsors don't really show their back deals, right? And especially with recent chain of events, 2020, 21, 18, 19, everyone who bought at the time, they sold in a year without doing any work, and they've been rock stars in the space until something happened with this rate hikes and everyone got over leverage and bridge loans, and one after another, many deals. Like in your case, out of 16 deals, 4 is going down, 5. That's 30% of your deals, and that's what I hear in statistics. 30-40% of the deals, even active and good operators, still going down because of something was overlooked. No one expected the rate hikes. Someone got overexcited about going to this journey, and then the area wasn't underwritten properly, and now they couldn't stabilize it, and rent collection and everything's falling apart.
Yeah.
What's your take on underwriting on the main sponsor?
Tough, man. That's a tough one. I mean,
Because when you come to the deal, you ask around, right? You didn't just, hey, give me money. You just gave money. You got someone referred to him. You got some conversation, someone that you know invested with them. So you got this chain of events that lead to this sponsor. What would you do differently?
I would say, look, anyone can throw numbers at a board, right? Real estate performs good, it performs bad, fluctuations in the market. I think understanding the capital stack and the debt structure, I think is key there. And just, one cannot overly vet a sponsor enough, in my opinion, right? There's an indirect risk component that one would kind of take a chance on. Track record is key and critical. Understanding if someone's raising money, who's the lead sponsor, right? So we're pretty critical now in terms of we get deals thrown at us a lot, right? There's a lot on the market for sale, right? Given kind of where things are at, being exits from the respective lead sponsor, that's key, and just continuously kind of evaluating person XYZ along the way to see if they do what they say they're going to do from that standpoint. So evaluating the sponsor just doesn't stop at one deal. It's a continuous evaluation kind of throughout, right? And I would say the same if I was raising money for a respective project also as well, right? When we're putting out, trying to do the right things, right? And try to do what's best, not only for the property, right? But at the end of the day, making sure the requirements to your main partner, which is the bank in most cases, right? So
were there any red flags that you would looking back and you think in hindsight 2020, I should have seen it, should have, would have, could have, or it was all fine and this has actually happened, market and actually tough situation in general in economy?
Well, I would say, market has a lot to do with it, right? With the way interest rate went up, rapidly, and abruptly. But I understand the dynamics of why things did what they did from a market standpoint, because those indicators, right? Macroeconomic indicators, you gotta know, you kind of understand what are some of those triggering points would lead things to the way that they that they do. But again, there's 2 or 3 things that a sponsor can do if a deal is doing fantastic or if it's tanking. If you can over communicate and over deliver the messaging about what's going on and be as clear, concise, and honest as possible, I'll take that as face value if you're trying. Because look, I failed at deals in real estate, so I get it, I understand. But for those who you got a sinking ship and you're not really communicating, that's almost like a double whammy for can never do business with them again and kind of keep it moving from that standpoint.
No, I agree. It's a key element is communication, transparency. Going back to your original point, communication and transparency. So Okay, so you got good experience, you have bad experience, you have really good experience in syndication and LP. And so how do you underwrite your deals and evaluate deals when you're not active operator? Do you just follow the lead of the sponsor, you just review their investor deck, or do your own due diligence?
No, we do our own due diligence. I mean, look, we underwrite small deals, we underwrite large deals also as well. We kind of know and understanding now what our market is the benchmark in terms of how and where cap rates should be, right? I'm pretty, I'm an adjunct professor of macroeconomics, so understanding those trends and those underliers, I think, are key. And look, real estate is not a national phenomenon. Everything's market specific. So what's going on in my backyard is different from what's going on in your backyard as well. You kind of gotta have some type of intel and insights to kind of support the reasoning when you're looking and evaluating the deal. So, learn that facet also as well. Every market's different, and real estate would always be market specific. So that's kind of how we take it from a macro standpoint and break it down in micro pieces from an approach standpoint.
There's no cookie cutter approach, but there is some formulas you can apply. Especially for large multifamily, it's all based on income, right, and cap rates and expenses. So you need to understand what you're dealing with it and how you deal with it. Actually, I'm gonna give a plug to my own software. I'm developing a proprietary software. We're gonna talk about it later on. And just for our listeners, it's something that will be useful is a small multifamily, single family, or large multifamily, where you'll be able to plug in your investor deck from sponsor if you're just an LP, or your OM or broker sheet, and you'll be able to have a detailed stage underwriting report from property factual details to market analysis and research and assumptions and underwriting. And we have projections for many years ahead. And actually, Melvin, we're going to be on your podcast soon enough talking about it.
Cool.
Because we're in a beta testing right now and public will be in 2-3 weeks. And that's when we're going to give a little more spotlight. But let's move on your podcast. Tell us more about it. You also host is a main podcast, Get Diversified.
Yeah.
What inspired you to start it?
Well, I come from a diversified family, so as you can imagine, I'm African American. My wife's Italian and Polish, and the basis of our organization, right? Get Diversified is sponsored by Moreland Equity Capital. So my wife's Italian, Morelli. I'm Landry. You put it together, you get more land.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love it.
That's how it came about. So, and again, the podcast, right? Diversified family, we're diversified in everything that we do, our thought process, our actions, investment philosophy, etc. So, man, we are, we've been over a year, dropping episodes weekly, over 90 episodes. Man, looking forward to having you on the show for sure.
Awesome. So what are the main topics on your podcast for our listeners who would like to plug in and listen to it?
So look, we talk about all aspects of diversification, from real estate investing to self-storage to mobile home parks. I've done an episode where a guy is invested heavily in cannabis. So we really get diversified in the overall scope of the subject, and just talk about trials and tribulations, pros and cons, some things folks can be invested in, some things folks can be thinking about. And even if you're a beginner, right, there's an episode in there for you in terms of where do I get started? Where do I turn? I just got a 401k. What do I do? I think our show is a good platform for folks to kickstart, whether you're a longtime syndicator with thousands of doors, or if you're just a beginner with a duplex and trying to figure it out. Get diversified. Do something. Take action. Yeah.
Love it. Very powerful message. Guys, we're going to leave a link to Melvin's podcast right in the description. So please check it out. It's really knowledge based and a lot of information going on. But it looks like you're doing a lot of things, right? You self-manage and you're growing portfolio. You still have 9-to-5 job. And on top of that, you're doing podcasts. So what is your vision for the next 5 years for your company?
I would say, and not to mention, I'm a husband and a father also as well. So,
that's a big chunk, the biggest chunk of you.
Yeah. It starts with faith and family. Everything else, in my opinion, comes afterwards. So, look, man, I feel now more than ever, got a lot of experience in place, understand my market to a T, by the street, keep growing the trajectory and pushing the mission. Look, we love Class B and Class C properties, small multifamily in our market, growing affordable housing opportunity, and partnering with the housing authorities, right? They know us, we know them, and we're trying to help each other kind of reach that trajectory. I will say, look, for us, continuing to get diversified where appropriate, being strategic if we decide to get into syndications again, I mean, there's a certain select of sponsors that we know, like, and trust. That's what it's about at the end of the day. And partner in those respective deals as they come about. But yeah, man, laying out the foundation, growing our footprint locally. Look, there's a lot of deals out there. There's a lot of apples on the tree, and we're just trying to pick a few and keep this thing growing, man. So that's the main thing. So next 5 years, man, who knows, man? Aiming to double, maybe triple the portfolio, grow the trajectory right. By that time, I won't, we'll have additional staff kind of helping and supporting and trying to, in some cases, burn my time back.
Are you planning to quit W-2 at some point in the future? Or you love what you do, you just do it for passion?
I mean, eventually it's going to come to the end. Good things do come to the end. So yeah, I mean, eventually. But look, love my profession, love my job. Flexibility, it's good organization. And, I'm in procurement. What I do in my day-to-day role correlates to what it does I do in real estate also as well. So, that's a good thing. That's a good thing to have in terms of, from a kind of professional 9-to-5 standpoint. So eventually, good things do come to the end, right? So, yeah.
Yep. I mean, eventually you'll have to focus on your main source of income and growing your portfolio for your family, right?
Indeed.
For your legacy. And that's, in the end of the day, is important to show example. Okay, Melvin, I have only 5 rounds. Last few questions for you. So whatever first comes to your mind, please share with us. One book or resource that changed your real estate mindset approach?
I follow motivational speaker Eric Thomas. So one book that I've read is called You Owe You. It's kind of in your face, take accountability for your own actions and the fact that you control a lot of the things in your space that you can control. There's some indirect facets, but at the end of the day, taking action and having the right mindset, you will breed success at the end of the day. So that's one book that I've read has resonated with me. And look, I own it for better or for worse. Own the responsibilities and the actions and just kind of keep running with it. But at the end of the day, trying to get better at least 1%. Do something, So yeah.
At the end of the day, it's you and your decisions
that
shape your trajectory of your life. And either you hide it or you own it. It's nothing going to change on what happened. So you might as well embrace it and move forward. Yeah. Okay, next question. What's the number one skill every investor needs to master to thrive in today's market?
Adaptability. So now I feel as confident as ever. Interest rates are at 12%. As long as the math makes sense and I can cash flow, I'm going to try to pull the trigger. Adaptability is key.
Love it. And you showed us back in 2008-9 that you have to be nimble, you have to pivot and adapt it, and you still had your focus and target. And in just a mere 3-4 years, you, even with your baggage of short sale, you still adapted to a new reality and you took an action.
Came out better. Yeah, indeed.
One thing you wish you knew earlier.
How money really works. Yeah. My mindset was different 15, 20 years ago versus where I'm at today. Had I known and understand truly how money works, my trajectory would have been totally different.
Yep. Power of relationship, power of private money, power of leverage. Right? All of this stuff. And there's a lot of lessons in it. And I think sooner we get a taste of it and we understand and be respectful to money, right? We have to be respectful to it. Then it will come around and will be a benefit of you. Okay, Melvin, last question.
Sure.
If someone wanted to reach out and talk to you about Pittsburgh area or your journey or maybe invest in one of your deals in future, how people can reach out to you?
They can find me on all the social channels. So that's Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Melvin Landry. This face should not be that hard to miss. I'm on LinkedIn. I got podcasts, Get Diversified on, Apple, Spotify, all the different channels. And that's how you can reach me. Pretty accessible to say the least. So yeah. And also I'll give a website link here real quick. www.morelandequity.com. Just like it sounds, that's what it is. MORELAND equity.com.
Love it. Melvin, that's all from me. That's a wrap. Thank you so much for coming in today. Your story is really interesting, especially with the turbulence in the market and economy. Everyone's scared and looking what to do and how to react to the different things. You just keep showing us that if you have a plan, if you have a goal in mind, and you have faith in your family with you, then everything is possible. Even with your bad credit, with your bad history, you still was able to strive and even overcome your goals and become on top of the food chain. I love it. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you, sir. Appreciate the opportunity.
Of course. And to everyone listening, if you found value in this episode, make sure to like and subscribe and share it with someone ready to take control of their path. And as always, keep moving forward.